Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. Thanks for watching our show. We appreciate it on Verizon 32 everywhere in the Pittsburgh area and the suburbs. Comcast 7 only in Bethel Park. Thanks for the great feedback. Keep running into people saying, keep doing the good job here. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. We got a special guest that's filling in for Chip Hainer tonight. Jesse Saxon at my left here. Smoking Jim Frazier. And Zach Brenner. And we hit Zach, I got to tell Jim J right off the bat, we hit a world record, new high. We jumped up listen to this, 3,687. We picked up 13 new people just after last night's show. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate the likes. And some of you people that are asking me for likes, when I send you a message that I sent you an invite like a year ago, 6 months ago, just like it and I'll like your page. That's how simple it is. And I appreciate the ones that have been kind enough to do that. Now we got a lot of sports talk here to speak about this evening. Can't wait to do that. Thanks for Dave Cable and everything he's done. We had a little discussion in the studio. I can't really repeat it, but I do want to have John the Tiger Kiger, who was featured with George the Ghost Garanci in the paper. I'm going to show you in a minute. So if you can pull up on this, this was in the Sunday Tribune Review. Thanks to Bethel Park for helping us. This was supposed to be just an article about public access TV, but somehow the Talking Machine kept talking, and we got like 4 paragraphs in there. So I appreciate it. Thanks to Tori Parrish, who's an award-winning writer. And I have a special thing I want to do for our cameraman, and he's the only one here tonight. This is a photo that I was going to highlight before, but we had a little discussion. I can't repeat any of that, so pull up very close so your mom can see you and your dad, please. Can we get closer on that? And that was the Tiger telling me he can't. All right, just do a little, not too close. Whoop, I can't do it. There he is. Whoop.
Oh, that's John. That's George.
There's George. And then all the way over here is my man right in the studio. Look at him. He's on that same camera.
I got to change his name from Rookie of the Year to Prime Time.
No. He's no prime time tonight. That's it. Zip. He's close to leaving the room here. Open that door and then walk out and see your mom tonight. Mary, you got him. I can't believe this happened.
Sorry, man.
You know what? We better start talking sports.
Somebody gave Levine too much China gunpowder.
No, matter of fact, only 5 cups today. I need my 7 more. I'm too strong. I don't know what happened. I didn't even get worked up yet. I just hate when I don't hear the truth. But anyhow, we're going to start with what's on our mind. And I got to ask Zach Brenner, what's on your mind?
Well, Al Levine, the Talking Machine, what's on my mind? Yesterday, I got a phone call from Jimmy Lubash. He had about 30 loaves of bread that a local baker had given to him in a garbage bag, and he was just going to go down and pass it out to the homeless, just the bread itself. Well, me being the person that I am, I said, well, hold on a second. Let's do the Icky Shuffle and let's go get some cold cuts, So we went down, we shuffled down to Giant Eagle, and we got some Isley's chipped ham, and we made about 30 sandwiches and went down underneath the 10th Street Bridge, and yesterday we passed them out to all the homeless folks downtown. So that's I finally got a day off in 4 months, and that's one of the things we do at Brenner Contracting. We went down and me and Jimmy Lubash on that little towel that Al Levine always holds up. Team Lubash, that's the...
Here's the other half of the Brenner Contracting towel. It's famous there. It's starting to wear out,
smokes. This looks like Jim Frazier's do-rag. We need some Tide, Levine, upon further review.
I did put the Tide. It's starting to get stained from passing it around to you. You got those working till 7 o'clock hands, and I can't get that clean.
Hey, I got here at 6 o'clock tonight, and Jim Frazier even beat me here. But what's really on my mind, besides giving back to the city that I love and call home for 30 years, is...
What city is it?
For the first time since 2007, we have all 4 teams from the WPIL will be represented in Hershey playing for state championships, and those would be the Pine Richland, Central Valley, South Fayette, with a quarterback that Jim Frazier is becoming quite enamored with, and the Bears from Clairton, the city of
Ah,
prayer,
the Bears.
will be going. And a fact a lot of you don't know is this season has been a historic one for the Clairton Bears. In all of football, the Clairton Bears are number 2 all time in scoring. So I don't know if you know that they're going for number 1.
We do now.
They're going for number 1, but they're number 2 all time in the record books when it comes to scoring and offense. And if you're wondering how I got this cut above my eyes, folks, I was sparring today, and a kid caught me, so I got a little cut on the sparring today for the Amish Assassin. So that's just a little bit of what's on my mind. Stay tuned for the rest. It's going to be a great show.
Well, we got a lot of subjects. Thanks, Z. And I was going to question you about what happened there because Smoking Jim notices the eyebrows. That's one of the things he notices, especially with women. I better not say anymore. He said a couple things last night. I'm just out of control with it. I try to go for common sense, but we're out of control here tonight. And the full moon's gone. Smoking Jim, I'm hesitant to even ask you what's on your mind after you drank so much Kool-Aid yesterday. Steeler Kool-Aid. What is on your mind, Jim?
Hey, thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green,
Look out, Jesse.
you got to see Levine.
the fumble.
I dropped
Here,
it.
try another
Oh,
one.
my
Try another
goodness.
one.
We can't fumble 2 in a row.
Drop down and give me 10.
That's it, man.
That ain't
Drop
happening.
down.
He has to do 300 pounds, right?
Look like
10
look like
times.
Look like
10
that high
times.
you dropped down the day somebody did today. But hey, man, just another shout out to the Clairton Bears going for the record. You know they got a black coach, Coach Wade, my man.
I got to
Good
interrupt.
job out there.
I got to interrupt. Smoking Jimmy will still not be allowed in Clairton. Just because you're tossing a little compliment out. All those hateful things you've said, they remember that, okay?
And the only thing growing faster than the Pittsburgh Sports Line likes is all the homeless people in Homestead. So you're doing a good job. It's never ending. And
Hold it. Another disclaimer. None of these remarks reflect anybody on the panel except Smoking Jim. And we love every community that's out there because we have friends and fans in every community here, Smoking Jim. So try not to antagonize certain communities. And we don't want to hear about God's country
only
anymore.
like the Homestead Graves Bridge. But hey, a shout out to Devin Shea and Prime Time is in the house. But what's on my mind, of course, I always got to start off with the genius, Bruce Arians. But I'll put that to the side for right now. But what's on my mind is Marvin Lewis. The
friend of yours.
The Oreo cookie, black on the outside, white on the inside. But I will give him credit. He did call Johnny Manziel a midget today, so I kind of like that. Marvin Lewis gets a little points from me, but Johnny Manziel is going to put it on Cincinnati this week. He got the starting job. He's 3-0. Hey, a little shout out, Cam Newton, please get healthy. 3 broken bones in his back, but he is responsive in the hospital.
He's human after all.
He's human after all. Hey, on Mike and Mike, I got to correct from one journalist to another. Mike and Mike, Mike Ditka, NFL Network. Everybody's making a mistake. Everybody's on the Rams' bandwagon, although Bruce Arians will put a stop to all of that coming soon. But they said that it's the first time since 1945 that an NFL team won back-to-back games with shutouts. But if you turn the pages back to 1976, they did it twice in the same season. One time they won 3 games in a row on shutouts, and then later on in the season won back-to-back games. So get your statistics right.
Who won the games?
The Steelers.
Was
Right,
it Mike
you didn't
Ditka?
say that, yes.
Was it Mike
Of course.
Ditka or was it Mike and Mike in the morning? Because that's
Both.
It's
Both.
3
Both.
different guys.
He was a guest on there, and NFL Network. Everybody's making the same mistake.
Smoking Jim, I'm glad you were able to watch something besides films.
Thanks, but this is what's really on my mind.
What?
So I can stretch it out. But what's on my mind is in 2014, the #1 conference in all of college football, this is voted on by the experts, was the Big 12, even ahead of the SEC. It's the toughest conference in all of football this year. TCU and Baylor are 2 of the top 4 teams in the country, no question about it. TCU only loss was to Baylor, who was in the top 5 at the same time. These guys aren't in. How can Ohio State, who got beat at home by Virginia Tech, playing with a third-string quarterback, get in? I can tell you why. Because Nick Saban, who runs college football along with the SEC in Alabama, he's been crying all offseason that he's afraid that they ought to change the rules about the spread offense and the no-huddle offense. So they give him a team that's tailor-made in his wheelhouse, so to speak. Ohio State, he's going to beat them to death. But because TCU and Baylor may have been in there and may have put the mercy rule on the Bama this year, this is not a very good SEC conference. Why don't they just have all 4 teams in the SEC just have a round-robin playoff? That's what everybody wants anyway. But my prediction as I wrap this up,
I was hoping you get to the point.
Until Florida State gets beat, I got Florida State winning it this year again. And Florida State wins it.
It doesn't surprise me that you go with the kid that steals crab legs from the grocery store.
Well, I'm going this week with Johnny Manziel that made a whole lot of money in college. Signing autographs, brother, and hanging out with celebrities. And that's what's on my mind.
And he trained on beer and Skittles. That's one of your most popular things, except for the beer.
That's why he fits in great in Cleveland.
Now, Jesse, we only have a few rules, and these guys broke them. When what's on your mind, as I emailed you, we usually talk about one subject, and I counted at least 3 from my not esteemed colleagues, but colleagues. So I wish you well. What's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind? First off, I got to say thank you to the 3 of you for being the guest that was so nice that you had to invite me back twice. Thank you so much. In addition, I'd like to say...
Was I here for the first time?
I was here last night.
He got hit in the head.
It's okay. You got a little dinger on the eye today.
Right.
That's okay. That happens sometimes.
He'll come back.
You should have been bobbing when he was weaving. It happens.
He did bob and weave, and it was right into
I
it.
think it was the glove got me.
Exactly. And on that note, because that's exactly what's on my mind, I wanted to thank you guys as well for being one of the only broadcasting teams that habitually will cover mixed martial arts. It's on my mind that a lot of the major media outlets do not cover mixed martial arts that well. It's still seen as being a human cockfighting sport or something that Senator John McCain deemed to be nasty and gross in the early to mid-'90s when it was starting to break out. And as of late, it's really starting to take a turn and to be more palatable to the masses. And I think that you guys do a pretty good job of covering everything on the local scene and even dip into a little bit of the pro stuff once in a while when it does come up. I mean, I know my man Z over here has a stake in the fight game, and I always appreciate that and his boys. But I just wanted to extend a thank you again for inviting me back and for you guys to cover the sport as well.
Oh.
And that's what's on my mind.
We appreciate that.
We got to have him back.
I knew that would happen because you got one of the best schmoozers in the business, Smoking Jim, and he thinks you have nice. No, he doesn't think your eyebrows are nice, but he may compliment you. He just didn't understand what palatable meant. So he's going to ask me later on. So that's why he'll be back, because every time he learns a new word, I try to throw certain verbiage out at him, and I told him to look in an old dictionary we used to have, the Funkin' Wagnalls, because it sounds funny. So these guys haven't discovered that yet. Maybe you don't know Funkin' Wagnalls.
That's a
We
new
didn't
one to
have
me.
You have to
we didn't have
research it,
dictionaries
Google
at
it.
Still Value. It was budget.
Well, I understand that. So, well, I appreciate you for staying on one subject, unlike the Sandbox boys right there. We're trying to see, and I'll pass the, you can look at, these are some of the subjects. Since you're
Certainly.
our honored guest, we'll let you pick one out after we finish a couple more segments here. Okay?
Sounds good.
You study that and then pass it on, and I know you're a quick study, so.
Just give it to me, because you know Jim Frazier's not going to read it.
Well, he does look at it as it goes by. What's on my mind is we saw the Penguins. You know, they got a new coach and everything. The strategy's different. But here's what's odd. Last night, they're down by 2 goals. They come back, tie the game. Then in overtime, they lose. So most Steeler fans, you know, we have problems with losses, except we don't want a lot of Penguin wins in the season anymore. We feel we should just worry about the playoffs. But I like wins. They got 1 point. They're tied with 2 other teams for the most amount of points, 39 points. So why aren't we thankful about that? The Penguins are playing well. They changed their game up. They got a lot of new players. I don't even know some of the players' names, but I know Fleury, and I know what he's doing out there, and it's amazing how people hate him. I'm still amazed when I go out there. They're like, what is he going to do in the playoffs? How about I'm thankful for a win or keeping us in a game so it's not a 7-goal blowout, because they still let the guys come in on them, 1-on-none. So, I mean, we see that. So I'm thankful, since we hardly talk about the Penguins. This is a shout out to John Velasquez, Jody Slick Move Guide's husband. So he says you don't talk enough Penguins. So I figured I'd do my What's on My Mind with some Penguins. He said
much
me.
more could I talk about?
Hold it,
Marc-Andre
chop liver. He's talking about me.
Oh, you don't talk about the Penguins enough.
Unbelievable. It's not all about you, young Skippy here. There's other people on this show.
Yeah, Skippy.
I thought he was referring to the collective.
And I'll go on record, he is a friend of the collective.
But you don't talk about the Penguins enough.
As per our previous conversation and what's on my mind. And I'm done with what's on my mind, and we're going to start one of my favorites. This is one of the best segments we have, so I don't know if the guy's up to it. Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. But we're going back to 1992. I just happen to be the only non-linebacker in the linebacker meeting room other than Greg Lloyd's two Doberman pinchers. And this is the first year they hired linebacker coach Marvin Lewis. And so I'm in the room. I just read some of the guys. I wrote down some of the guys that was in the room with me that year. Brian Hinkle, wow. David Little, of course, Greg Lloyd, Hardy Nickerson.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Jerry O, and Gerald Williams with a J. Those are the ones that I can remember. There's a couple other guys that maybe didn't make the team. And you could hear a pin drop in the room. And Marvin Lewis gets up to the board, the blackboard, and he's
Why's
never.
It gotta be blank? This was before dry erase boards?
He had 92, that's back, brother. And he never ran a 3-4 defense before, so he's hemming and hawing, he's stuttering and stammering, and he just can't get it right. So all of a sudden Greg Lloyd stands up and starts cussing. Sit your blankety blank down. Sit the blankety blank down, and you might learn something. And Greg Lloyd went up and explained everything, and only laughter you could hear in the room was in the back of the room. I was cracking up. I couldn't stop laughing. And that's what's on my mind. Congratulations again, Marvin Lewis. You're going to get beat this week by Johnny Manziel.
Another disclaimer. We've heard this. I've heard it over the last 3 years. Zach's only heard it a year and a half. Smoking Jim does not like Marvin Lewis. And these are his only opinions.
And let's be honest here. If we did a poll right now with the people watching at home, do you really think Smoking Jim Frazier was in the back snickering with a pissed off Greg Lloyd? I highly doubt it.
And his dogs. That's why I didn't leave the room, because his dogs was there.
No way, Jose.
In Three Rivers Stadium's offices.
Here's why I might believe it. He was a power lifter back then, and Greg Lloyd just spit on everybody. So he knows what it's like to get spit on by Greg Lloyd and swear upon. So that's why he stayed. And the meeting only lasted 5 minutes. He has a duration and a withdrawal to do it.
All I know is if you can go 11 years without winning a playoff game and you're still the head coach, Cincinnati must got the best affirmative action laws in the country.
Smoking Jim, I got to keep arguing.
I'm moving.
I got to keep arguing with you. Here's what it happens. Like, I don't know how you do it, but you got every lady that comes on our show, they love you.
Yay!
And then when they all get together, they go, he says the same thing about me.
And then it backfires.
Yeah.
It like so, a and they come my way.
That's what I think Marvin, whatever. Your man that you hate does it in Cincinnati. Or he has some great photos of management and owners. That's the other theory.
A Fort Cherry alum. from the WPIL.
And Fort Cherry's never won a WPIL.
He's not allowed in that community either. So,
I mean, at the rate that Jim Frazier's going, I mean, he got Homestead, Clairton, Fort Cherry, Central Catholic. He's not allowed in parts of Oakland, that's for sure. Penn Hills.
Wow. Well, my New Year's resolution is Smoking Jim's going to change a little bit, maybe not talk about these other communities, and maybe they'll let you back in when we expand our base and go out there.
Me
and
and
do
you
some
both
filming.
can't go to Canada.
No, we're allowed now. They actually
I have
like
a
me. They
passport.
like the Pittsburgh sports
I think
line.
I'm the only person at the desk with a passport. You got a passport?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, we got two guys. We're out of here.
Ready to go.
We're
We'll
going
take
to
it
Russia.
international.
Not Russia. Well, I didn't plan on leaving the country yet. But I don't want you going to
Come
Russia.
on, Fidel. I know you got a passport over there.
It's under a different name.
Same with Jim Frazier. I got you guys figured out.
Well, these are inside jokes. Sorry, Jesse, we didn't bring you in on it, but it's still hilarious.
It was still funny, right?
Yeah, exactly. And since Chip is not here with us, I think he's at a concert. His trivia time is taken off the sheet.
He's at a train concert.
Well, I
You
didn't
know,
really
train there
follow.
smoking, Jim?
I didn't really follow, but that was a moment for him. Now, Zach, we're going to go to your Z time there, so I hope it's a different subject or not expanding on the other subjects, all 6 of them that you brought up, including going to Russia now.
Well, you know, if brutal Brendan Barrett takes a fight over in Russia, we're going to Mother Russia.
Can we drive there?
No, we're not going to be able to drive. I mean, we're going to have to fly.
Are you serious?
Unless you want to take,
I thought
unless
it
you want to take a
freezes.
U-boat across the pond, Pops.
No, I don't know if you know, but the Bering Strait, some people say they could see Russia from there, and it used to freeze up.
Oh, you want a snowmobile across?
Yeah, so we
Okay.
could possibly do that. So
All
you're
right, I
gonna-
like your style, Jacques Cousteau.
there you go. It'll be
Strap a
above
saddle
water.
on a polar bear and just
You can
drive
see
it over.
Russia from Alaska, I think.
Well, somebody said that.
Somebody
We're not
said
talking
you
politics. That'll be on our political
I think that was
Pittsburgh
Sarah
sports
Palin.
line. We didn't hear
That
that,
was Sarah
but
Palin.
It'll be on a tape delay.
yeah. Matter of fact, they're hearing us right now, so we're live. Keep smiling. Zach, what do you have, buddy?
Well, on Z Time, LeBron James and company, Derrick Rose out in Chicago, decided to wear an I Can't Breathe T-shirt in warm-ups before the game, subsequently violating the CBA with the NBA because you're not allowed to wear anything other than Adidas during warm-ups. So
You're exactly right. It's about time that I've taught people about CBAs.
So forget about the collective bargaining agreement, Lamine. So just the fact that a
What?
few of these guys that decided to wear these shirts and show support for the gentleman from New York City didn't do so good in their games. The only one of the 5 stars that did good was LeBron James. But I'll give you guys a little tidbit on what LeBron James screwed up. I didn't know this. There's a rule with the royal family who's visiting. The 2 top people in the royal family are visiting. The prince and his wife are visiting. You're not allowed to touch them. It's a rule. You're not allowed to touch them. Well, what does LeBron James do? He's in a photo with Kate, and he goes like this and puts his arm around her. for the
Really?
pic. Well, I mean, that's a flag, Levine. And apparently, we had a fight in this country to break away from the king and the queen, but they're upset now that LeBron James put his hand around the prince's dame in a picture while he was handing him a LeBron James jersey.
Well, I think LeBron James just needed to exercise his title as being King James.
And that's what they're saying on this side of the pond. That's what they're saying. That he's royalty on this side, but you come to America.
Yeah, but I want to interrupt you on that. With the Constitution, we will have no kings, queens, or any royalty. So actually, he's not an American now if he thinks that. And anybody that wants to follow him, you're breaking the Constitution. That's not a CBA, but go read that. That's why they broke away and had this revolution. There will be no royalty
So
or
what's going to
anybody
happen
that's
now
like
that he
royalty.
touched the queen or whatever, the princess?
He might be banned from ever going to England. When the NBA expands to England,
Well, here now let me get you up to speed. So now let's fast forward during the game. The Prince of England was photographed touching Dikembe Mutombo, whom he was sitting next to. So it's like a catch-22. Like LeBron James isn't allowed to take a picture with his arm, but you're allowed to be touching Dikembe Mutombo. So it's like a double standard.
I don't know if people understand, but there's other like protocols and stuff in other countries out of respect. Now we think everything's stupid because we're ugly Americans, so that we're actually naive and stupid about it. So you should find out about these other countries.
But what
Read
I'm
a
confused
little.
about is if there's a rule that you can't touch The Duchess, I believe, is her official title.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Dikembe Mutombo was there when LeBron James was going reach. Where was Dikembe Mutombo reaching out going, just like in the commercial. Should have been there.
That
the
is
game.
brilliant.
It would have been a good plug.
Dikembe
Yeah.
wasn't
He missed
there.
out. He
Yep.
missed out on his CBA.
Well, he may not have been as quick as he should have been.
Not as
Some of
quick
them are a
as this
little
guy.
slower.
He's a step slow.
Exactly.
And see, if it was Al Levine, the talking machine, he'd have just point.
Exactly. Exactly.
Signature move.
You
I
got
like that.
it. Just like these three to my left. Bing, bang, and boom. What do you got left? Boom.
Well,
Boom.
I also got the fact that I was pushing last week very heavily for Penn State and my Pitt Panthers to play in a bowl game. Well, apparently college football decided that was too much, and Penn State's going to play BC, not Brenner Contracting, Boston College. That's who Penn State got, and Pitt got Houston. So good luck to
Here, show them
yeah,
so
good
they
luck
know
to
the
Pitt.
difference.
Good luck to the University of Pittsburgh stopping that prolific offense that Houston likes to run. I still say that Penn State and Pitt were both very mediocre and subpar this year, and we should have put those two against each other and sorted it out. Why wait till 2016, Levine?
Well, there's another reason that you guys keep going for the green. I'll explain the green. Penn State people are everywhere. That's the biggest alumni association in the country.
Really?
Yeah, I can't make this stuff
is.
up. You know,
But,
I mean, I could
like, I
with
gave
you
you that
guys,
nugget
but
Put
I
that
last
don't.
on there. You'll get fact checked.
Yeah.
But the most Penn State alums per capita is in Allegheny County, in the city of Pittsburgh. So I don't see what
Well,
what the
because
big-
they're also big everywhere else. Just because the most are here by 3 extra people, it doesn't really matter where you're going.
You're
And
going to
it's
have a hard
about
time fact checking that one.
But
Right.
Franco got me fired up because I ran into Franco over in Shadyside the other day, and I was telling him, because he knows that I jumped ship and went back to Pitt, where I belong, after the shower gate. And he said that they will blow the wheels off of the Panthers. And then I got real adamant and said, you know what, man, there's a kid from Clayton at wide receiver that got something to say. There's a running back from Erie that got something to say. And just on the strength of those two right there, and if Wojciech even shows up, and I don't know if Chris is going to coach, but if with just those three right there, we're going to be in that ball game against your Nittany Lions, And he kind of scoffed or whatever, but
Well,
I wanted it.
Usually I don't interrupt you on these things, so I'll make another point there. I like Pitt and I like Penn State. When it comes time, if you want to wager a friendly wager, which I believe in those, don't start gambling if you haven't ever done it, unless you're smoking, Jim, keep gambling. I would bet all in on Penn State in any game Chris coaches against them, because I've seen what he does. He's great at motivating by telling them like this, let's go, and they start the game like a gang of fire. Then at halftime, he gives them another pep talk, and they're out of business. So that's what I've seen. That's why they're 6-6, and they're not in the mix. So that's what happens. You've actually been there. I'm a Pitt fan. If you can't take criticism, then why have they lost those games?
That's true. And plus, Terry Smith from Gateway, defensive back coach for Penn State, will shut everything down.
And that's Z time. We got enough there. He's trying to antagonize some of our friends. Franco Harris, who I'm friends with there. But that's another day.
Franco won the national
Hell to
championship.
Pitt.
They got the nice rings, too.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh Passion.
Hell to Pitt.
definitely. All right, now we'll go to another segment that's on location. Last night we were at Duke's Rib House and Grill. We had a great show. We actually met this gentleman here at MMA, and he wowed the folks there with, you have to give that little thing where you talk about yourself and those lucky charms that you have and all that other stuff. That was actually a classic when I watched the video from last night.
That was good.
But we were there. We had a Darius Chisholm there, Sarah Werner, Steve Okabayashi, and we had Adam Milstead, who you would never know. He's like the nicest guy you could meet. He come there just so he could eat like 18 racks of ribs. So we talked to him for a few minutes. Adam's a class act, as my younger colleague over here said, and posted it that way. And we recognize it doesn't cost a dime to have class.
Nope.
And some people have it, some don't. And we just had a great show, a lot of great conversation. The stories were going all over the place, and we'll be back there on the 22nd. So we'll be out there, and then next week, we're not going to be anywhere because we ended up with a couple places not being able to go there with Christmas parties and everything. So we'll have our Christmas edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline on the 22nd. That'll be a Monday night. So come on out. I'll make an event page for it. You'll see that. Then I wanted to give you some other news that, hey, Tiger, this is very critical that you get a close-up on this one. This is like
why you put that pressure on him.
This is the triple secret probation thing. He's triple secret. So I'm proud to announce we did it last night, but I figure on the live show, we got a lot of people watching us. We'll be back at Atria's. They want us there for next year on the 5th and 19th. So the first and third week. So we'll be there at PNC Park. That's Atria's PNC Park. You're all welcome to come on out. You can even try more pressure for my man. You did great on that. Tiger.
This is a big deal.
Yeah. You could come out and you could try the Talking Machine Big Mouth Burger. Somehow they named it after me, and 10 people ate it. Mario Tempest, shout out to Mr. Monavi, was the first to eat it. He survived it, and even the chef said he tried it and liked it. So find out what the secret ingredients are there and check that out, but we'll be there. So our next year's schedule will be the first and third week at Atria's, the second and fourth at Duke's Rib House and Grill. So we have 2 steady locations that we'll be at. Instead of you being confused, where are we going next? We got 2 homes there, so I just wanted to announce that tonight for you so we can move forward. Any questions, you know you can call it 412-831-3304 during the show. And thanks to Bethel Park and everybody again, that we're the most popular show in Bethel Park. And I want to thank you for that. And without the Sandbox Boys and Chip, the Tiger Kiger, George Garanci, all the other people that help out, I think Devin Shea's there. Did I mention him yet? No. I mentioned him not. Is it? Mm-hmm. Well, Devin Shea's a good guy. And if you go online to check out the article that's online, you'll see how he runs the control room. So check that out. You'll actually see Dave Cable in 2 shots there. So he's there. And believe it or not, I can't say it again, but John, you're there. So's the Ghost.
Prime time!
No, he's not prime time. That hit the floor.
Right now, Deion Sanders is coming for you, brother.
Stay Rookie of the Year because he did win Rookie of the Year in your mind, okay? And he's into his sophomore season. And I just want to clarify this. I'm not picking on him. I like him. But when you go through a sophomore jinx, it's a jinx. I'm telling you, I'm superstitious. It's a jinx. He's got the 110% effort. He's rolled across our floor. He's knocked lights down. We saved stuff. He saved the show a couple times because of the extra effort. It's just a sophomore jinx. It's his second year here. We're proud to have him on the team. We appreciate it. Mary, let him in the house tonight, please. He means well. Don't shut the door on him and leave him outside. It's going to be cold and rainy. All right? That's it for my rant on it. Thanks for taking it. This is right on me. He's doing perfect tonight. Look, it's framed. I can see that. Perfect.
Look, there's enough room above your head also.
He took it away. Wow. That was the halo you saw. All right, give that sheet of paper down here. We're going to let our guest here, Smoking Jim didn't look at it.
I'm pretty sure that he's going to go with...
what do you think? Write it down. Write it down on what you think he's going.
It's a 3-letter word.
I got a good feeling that you're right, because if you're going to toss me a softball like that, the kid's going to hit it out of the park every time.
I thought so.
You know? I see a wide variety of topics, things that I would like to do. I mean, one of them was high school. I hit some power things in high school, and I'm talking about baseballs, too. Over the fence every time. You're going to have
we'll
to fact check
have you back.
We're going to have to fact check that one, too. But
because baseball,
how big was the field, though?
Was it 205 feet?
It was a long time ago.
It was 205 in Little League.
We were still measuring in metric at that point. We didn't quite get away from the king and queen. Bring it right back around.
All right, pick one there, Rookie.
All right, so I'm going to go with this list. I'm looking and I see the MMA on here, and me being a residential MMA guy and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. Like I said, if you're going to give me that softball, I'm going to hit it out of the park every time. So that's a subject I'm going to go with.
Well, for good people, I always like to throw a couple softballs at them, because if they miss that, then I know they're a little weak.
Right.
And you hit that one out of the ballpark.
It's out of there.
It's gone.
It's in South Park at this point.
I get the assist.
Well, that was a no-brainer. And you got hit in the head. You got some damage there tonight. Whether it was self-induced or not, I don't know. We'll talk later.
Jiu-jitsu will help.
Well, talk to my man. We'll try to work something out right here on this.
We can do it.
We got to let him talk.
Right,
Tell us a little bit about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Well, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a tried and true martial art. It has its roots in Japan with traditional Jiu-Jitsu, but where the Brazilian flavor kind of comes in was a little bit after the turn of the century when a Japanese Jiu-Jitsu guy came to Brazil. He
Which century?
The 1900s.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe somewhere around 1910.
Only reason I ask is a lot of guys like Zach and yourself are much younger than that. So
You're right.
And we're in the 2000s, and we do have some young viewers out there too.
Well, and
A guy right there.
Yeah. Well, like I said, somewhere around 1910, a Japanese immigrant came to Brazil. Long story short, he ended up teaching the prestigious Gracie family Jiu-Jitsu. And it became Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because of the smallest and weakest brother, Helio Gracie, was not able to compete against larger frame guys. So he developed a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to be able to defeat larger opponents. It was just a different flavor, different style.
YouTuber Gracie. You know,
And
I have watched a few in the past, and now to meet you talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I thought is awesome.
I had a slingshot for that.
I would have to.
You better hit me.
But I would say though the reason why Brazilian
Brazilian
Jiu-Jitsu is far superior to Japanese Jiu-Jitsu is that some of these specimens coming out of Brazil, like the strength of their lower body and their legs, is like very pivotal and crucial to Jiu-Jitsu. Like it's about positioning. When you say it's about positioning, it's about leverage.
Right.
Tactics. There's so much like nuances of it that you could probably go into more detail.
And a strong ground game.
Well, yeah.
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 Well, it is an emphasis on ground fighting. And when I say fighting, I do mean grappling and not strikes or kicks or knees. But yeah, the Brazilian side of it is more focused on being able to fight off of your back. And not necessarily on your side, where if you would think of maybe like a high school or a collegiate wrestling where you're kind of squatted and wrestling around, it does have a lot of that, and it does start standing up, but the point of it is to get your guy, grab him with some sort of takedown, and then...
It's all about leverage then?
Yeah, leverage is a very big part of it, and just to get the win, we say it's a win on purpose. A knockout's a win on accident. I mean, certainly you're doing your training and trying, but you don't know which punch is going to be the one. Whereas some sort of a submission is something on purpose that I thought out down the line. Sort of it gets an analogy to human chess almost.
They say Brazil got the most beautiful women in the world too.
How are their eyebrows?
Aside from the women, no, let's not get away from it though. Because
no, we're in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
And this is where I liked your point earlier at the beginning of the show. I think the reason why MMA is making a comeback is because it is viewed as a very barbaric. It's been often criticized as, bloody, because some of the early things were, I don't think the competition was as up to snuff as it is now. Now you got all these guys, man, with all these different techniques and styles, and it's not, there's good knockouts, but now you're seeing a lot more, there's ground and pound, there's a lot more on the ground, there's takedowns, you said there's submissions. There's so many more elements to it now where it's becoming more well-rounded than just the two guys, bashing each other in, more so than boxing.
Right, and what makes it a little more palatable, there it is.
2 times it.
It is because it is kind of getting a little bit more refined, whereas before the term mixed martial arts was taking a martial art and mixing it in with another one to see which would prevail. And over time, it's now developed into a word of its own, or a phrase of its own, where it's blending various styles of martial arts, where you're seeing the stand-up sides of kickboxing or Thai boxing.
What's becoming ubiquitous for MMA.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you make it a part of our normal sports that we watch.
In layman's, for the sandbox.
In layman's terms, it's like saying Kleenex. You go in a store and there's 80 varieties of Kleenex. That's ubiquitous. Okay? You can switch them in and out. Like say you're swapping out something, whatever work you're doing in the contractor's business. You might call it something, but it's the same thing for 3 different products.
Okay.
Just so you know, and Smoking Jim, I can't even explain it.
But as you can attest to, right now there isn't one style that reigns supreme over all the others. Like, it just depends on the fighter and how it's applied. Because in my opinion, any given Sunday in football, or any time you get into the octagon or the cage or in the ring, it's a, you know, the outcome is not predetermined. You know, even the most underdog, you know, could do something amazing and win in the cage.
Well, they can make a bad move and put themselves right into jeopardy, which we've seen. You know, when we were with you at the Pinnacle.
Let's talk about Jericho.
Shout out, but before we go there, shout out to Robert Joseph and Gladiators of the Cage. They had a great card, but some people got beat. Some were getting knocked out and submitted in 26 seconds and things, you know. So it's amazing things that can happen when you have two equal opponents, let alone a very big underdog, too.
Well, in mixed martial arts, there's a phrase that styles make fights. And while you do try to be a complete martial artist, of someone who's able to have excellent boxing and excellent stand-up, or maybe you're a standout collegiate wrestler, Division I champion, and your strength is being able to tackle somebody, put them on the ground, and just kind of punch them a little bit on the ground for 15 minutes and get a decision win because I was able to dominate you. Right. Versus someone who maybe has excellent takedown defense and can stop that double leg takedown and keep it standing in boxing with you. That, you know, makes it sort of interesting if you have someone who's able to maybe snuff out someone else's style. And in mixed martial arts now, you're starting to see more well-rounded people where, like you mentioned, I mean, if you do make a mistake, there's another martial art to kind of fall back on that hopefully you're at least trained in somewhat. I mean, in mixed martial arts, you got to be so well-rounded.
Well, we see it, to interrupt you, a lot of them, since I'm new to the game and I'm happy to promote it, and people like yourself, and we do a great job of doing it. Smoking Jim was sitting next to Jamie Chesney for a few minutes and found out from In Your Face MMA about some of the things she was saying. And she gave him a couple razor elbows so he'd stay away. So. But no, what I notice is a lot of these wrestlers do pretty well.
Yeah, but wrestling translates very well because of the uniform.
And the boxers, if they can keep them away from them, the boxing skills overwhelm some of these guys if they keep them up.
Right.
And you know yourself with training and wrestlers, they'll take a guy down and these boxers are in trouble because that saps your strength. I call it almost more than going out and swimming 20 laps.
There's another example of Bill Hutchinson, where Bill Hutchinson is a prime-time athlete in the boxing ring.
Top level.
There's no doubt about it. You know, he got a lot of potential and a lot of promise in the boxing ring, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to translate over into the cage. And that was one of my things going back and forth with him that whole camp is that I didn't feel like there was enough time for him to master any kind of takedown defense, ground game. Like, I just didn't feel like there was enough time in that camp to really be able to acquire those fundamental skills.
And here's what's interesting. He was in the best shape that I've seen him in the last couple years.
Yeah, he looked great.
I mean, he was in shape that was phenomenal.
But let's not take anything away from Charlie Gathers, because that man fought 3 times in the
36 days
in November. And I tell you what, man, I mean, he's not, me and him have a checkered past and we're not each other's favorite people, but I tell you what, man, I admire the man's his determination and his heart, because he goes in there and he puts it all on the line and he leaves nothing to chance. And in that fight, Levine, that we were at in Altoona, the man didn't have a scratch on him. He actually hurt himself banging his head into the cage and gave himself a big knot and a cut. You know, so he ended up hurting himself that night.
Well, to get back to Hutchinson, we got to give him a pat on the back, because he went in there, number one, to get a payday, and he got a payday. Yeah. That's why he went in as a professional, and he got a nice game day check.
It's funny that you bring him up, because Hutchinson reached out to me, I think just yesterday, to help. But I don't want to give myself too much credit here or put words in his mouth.
Why not? We do that.
Well, he approached me on Twitter and he said, "Hey, when do you want to do some groundwork?" And I said, "I love the idea. Let's set it up." So look for that to come out soon.
So he's going to stick with the sport?
If I think so, yeah. Because if you reach back into the standthemup.org archives of last month, I did an article on Hutchinson, and
I did read that.
Thank you. And I talked to him a little bit, and I'll make sure you get it. And I asked him what was the motivation behind transitioning from boxing to MMA, but still sticking with it. Sometimes you see one transition from one to the other and realize they excel at one a little bit more, and who wants to get beat up? I mean, honestly. So whenever you realize that you excel at one more than the other, they tend to kind of lean that way a little bit and stick with that a little bit, and maybe passively kind of keep those other fans in the other sport like on the cusp, but not Hutch. The guy, that was what surprised me most about him, and why I focused that article that way, is that the guy just loves the bang. He loves
but
to
I
fight.
also think
the
that for
action.
the bad thing for Pinnacle and what Pinnacle is experiencing right now is a little bit of some of these guys that, you know, they come in with the bar real high, and you know, they haven't really tasted defeat that often or that much, and now they're starting to taste it, you know, and it's not a taste that very many, you know, enjoy. It leaves a real
It's not palatable.
Yeah, it's not palatable.
Yeah.
Smoking Jim, it's just not palatable. But
You're a quick study.
my feelings
Smell
on
it.
Hutch is now if he
Yeah.
starts working with you and he improves his ground game and he's able to, you know, not get, you know, zapped, basically, you know, going down and getting into the ground or whatever, into controls or whatever, then he'll be a lot better. But my personal feeling on it is if it's not broke, don't fix it. Call me. Let's go back to the ring. Let's get back in the boxing ring. Put the boxing gloves back on.
We're doing
and
shameless
go-
promotions
and go-
out there.
and let's go back down to West Virginia. Monty needs a hand right now. Spatty's getting better out in Vegas. You know, let's all meet back down in Mountaineer, you know, at the Harv, and get back to, you know, what we all do best. Because Rod Salka was chiming in saying that he would like to get a shot at Charlie Gathers, and me and him go way back, and I'm like, listen, Rod, you don't want any parts of Charlie Gathers.
Oh,
Charlie
Rod eat him up. Rod can wrestle.
He lost
Rod
like
eat him up.
65 pounds, Charlie lost, to fight at these levels to get a payday. So my hat goes off to him. But if you saw him at the end of that fight, he couldn't even stand up. He gave everything plus, and he was in super shape.
Yeah.
He was actually dropping to the ground. That's how tired he was. I watch this stuff because I always think the fighters and yourself, I always say when you're in a fight and you win it, could you have done anything better?
Always.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my point to it. So when you give it all out there that day, maybe there's something else you could change and do it. So that's what you got to do. I mean, it's not as easy as you say going out there and banging, you know, because guys do give everything they have in a win or a loss. Sometimes you meet your match. The guy's the better
we're
guy.
We're going to find out from the guys in Pinnacle. Right now, in my rankings, I feel like Karma the Death Star Worthy is the number one prospect and talent in the organization that is Pinnacle right now. That's my personal belief right now. After Cherico got his first defeat, I would bump him down to like number 2 in the promotion, you know, because I think the ceiling for the Death Star is real high at the, you know,
Little
what
Black
he does.
Magic.
Well, if you're going to call somebody prime time, I mean, the Death Star, it has to be.
That is his moniker, and I saw when he took a guy out in like 37 seconds.
Oh, he's an excellent little fighter, man. He's got a great attitude. He's got great energy. I don't know if
He's
I've
a
ever seen the guy
vegetarian.
tired.
He's
Yeah.
a vegetarian.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Karma
too.
Worthy, yeah. He's a vegetarian.
He is.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a rare thing to see in the
But
fight
he
game
looks
that
like
way.
he's a good boxer too. He's quick.
He's got quick hands for sure, yeah.
He looks like he
No,
could
since we-
make the transition.
Since
to
we have
boxing and
the
do well.
MMA guy at the table, let's talk. We already talked a little bit about Pinnacle. Let's move to Gladiators of the Cage on Saturday night down at Stage AE. The main event was scrapped because the fighter brought in to fight the Honey Badger, Mazzara, was 8 pounds overweight. So they gave him an opportunity to get down to a catch weight, and he comes in even more heavier the next morning.
He tried.
No, well, he didn't try.
He
But
tried like Smoking Jim would.
So what would you like? So what is your take on that? That a guy who comes in to be a main event that is just that, you know, unprepared, or do you think that was on purpose?
Well, I wouldn't ever say that it was on purpose. Unfortunately, it's something that you do see in these local circuits a lot.
But he traveled 752 miles to get a payday.
That'll
that a
put
fact?
weight on you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is why I actually got a call last night to interrupt you from Robert Joseph. Since he admires Smoking Jim on his rants, he wanted you to do a rant. But I didn't know if you were capable to do a rant about a guy that had no respect to be close in weight and traveled 752 miles with his trainer to come up here. And Gladiators of the Cage gets fined when you don't fight. So there are
Ran on
fines.
demand.
So
Well,
do you think
I'm
it's
working
a
on a
situation
deal,
where
but there was
he
no money
knew-
for it.
He knew that he was outclassed, overmatched at that particular weight against Mazzotta, and he just felt like, you know what, I'm going to come in at this, and hopefully I can get down to this, and I'll still have an advantage somehow. Because he's coming in to fight in his backyard, so it's like he's at a huge disadvantage.
Well, it's a possibility, and really the only way to determine that is to kind of know the guy, who he is and his personality, to really be able to get a consensus on what it was that made him come in that heavy. Personally, when I compete in grappling tournaments, I do cut weight. I cut about 20 pounds, which isn't an easy task, but it's not really impossible either. And really, it's just a very methodical dehydration. So whenever you do weigh in, you just don't have any excess water hanging around. No 7 cups of green. No green tea in the system.
You're clean and no green.
Right, yeah. You're just who you are at that point.
Well, I just watched the fight. I don't know how long ago it's out there on tape. It could be 2 years old on my DVR. But Triple G's last fight. Triple G, the boxer.
That's boxing. That's Gennady Golovkin.
But the guy that he was fighting couldn't fight for the title because he got down. He was 2 pounds over. He had to give up $100,000.
Right.
But his trainer says he just could not lose anymore. He just could not lose.
You do hit a wall
weight.
with that
So
stuff.
maybe that's what happened with this.
It isn't what happened, because you can't get bigger the next day. To me, when I look at it as a person not into the fight game, I report on it and we do promote it. To me, there's certain things. You just say, I'm going home, because you're not going to make it. Why go through all this and aggravate more people? Unless you've been concussed so many times that you don't understand.
I feel bad for the promoters and the fighter, Dom, because he lost out on the payday, and the promoters lost out on all.
But as
those
the fight of the night
ticket
that you
sales.
missed, Mike Wilkins was unbelievable there.
Yeah, he was.
He took the guy out with, what was it? I forget how quick it was.
It was quick, and it was like a barrage.
Yeah,
he just overwhelmed that guy.
He changed his style a little bit and was pummeling the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It was a great fight.
Yeah.
So it shows the differences. I didn't mean to have a whole night of MMA,
That was
guys.
great. We got to do this more.
We're going to have to do a segment up like this, and you're welcome back, if we have a miss out here or anything, so we can talk about that.
In his
even
defense,
on our Monday nights.
In his defense,
Whose?
Godfather of Pittsburgh, Switzerland, Penn State touched on it, Pitt touched on it, high school touched on it. Boxing, not so much. Penguins touched on it. MMA touched on it. So, if you want to talk about Francisco Liriano signing with the Buccos, go ahead.
I want to do it because I have to apologize to the Pirate fans. I thought there was no chance because I thought Frankie would take more money elsewhere. That couldn't have been the highest thing. $39 million for 3 years. So, that's a nice thing. And I'm glad Frankie's back. We got AJ back. And all the people that don't care about other pitchers only having so many pitches in their arm. We're going to win the World Series.
So is Sterling Marte still going to stick around? You got Jay Hay that can plug in pretty much anywhere.
Jay Hay may be a one-hit wonder. When you see a player have a career year, when he was just a utility player and not even that good at certain times, my hat goes off to him. If he does 2 years in a row, then somebody may be expendable. But I don't see it yet. One-hit wonders, we've seen him in all sports. And he had a great year. Should he have been MVP? Maybe. That was that great of a year. And you had Kutch that was up for MVP again. He outplayed him most of the year.
So are the Pirates, going above your expectation this offseason so far? Or
yes.
do you think they should do more?
Put it like this. Nutting, I'm not a fan of his, never have been. Yeah. But when a system works like this, they bought up everything they could in the minor leagues, got banned for doing what they're doing. They had to change the rules. Like the old-time Steelers, all you guys that loved the Steelers in the past, you couldn't head slap people till they were unconscious. You couldn't be Mel Blunt and throw them back in the backfield when they're on the line of scrimmage with you. So they changed the rules, loosened the game up. So they changed the rules for the Pirates, and now they're winning. So obviously they have a lot of players that can come up and step in. And if they need a few of these rent-a players, I'm all for rent-a players for 2-3 months of the season. And like Morneau, he had 9 home runs in 1 month. We gave up from him, didn't sign him again. He won the batting title. So my point was you have to have some common sense to this. A guy that's a good player.
And he could have solidified first base, which was a giant hole.
Now you know where I'm going at. Now you know where I'm going at, but we have teams that aren't perfect. Look at the Steelers.
Pedro.
Pedro's our first base.
Well,
Pedro doesn't want to be on first base.
What's exciting to me is growing up with the 90s Pirates,
Right.
and seeing all that talent leave, and then the aftermath of all that, and just all those horrible years, and as a Pirate fan, I think a lot of us had that feeling of like, why don't we keep our talent? We are the farm team for the entire MLB.
Exactly.
You know? And to me, at least it's exciting to see us securing those people. And
Right.
I'm obviously, I mean, it was kind of tough to keep our number one catcher behind the plate. I mean, I get it, and Russell Martin had to go, but
there was no way
Yeah.
from a
My
business
prediction-
standpoint. There was no way, Levine, from a business standpoint.
Oh, who
and
was the first to say
a
that when the
catcher.
season ended?
He's a catcher.
When the season ended,
there's no way.
I said there is no way, and I had arguments on the show and off the show that they should sign him no matter what.
For
And
more
to
than
me,
2 years, it's common
there's-
sense. So you know the Blue Jays are going to end up hurting in that one.
Well, it doesn't even matter. Who knows if they're paying him in Canadian money? I don't know.
well,
We
he's
didn't
working
find
out with
that
Canadian mixed martial artists now. That's something that I could put in there. I saw it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why we have you here.
That's why we had
I
to kick
didn't
him
know
out.
that.
That's why we got to kick him out. He's getting too many bench clearing balls now.
Well, we got
Exactly.
we got the Buccos real quick. Let's real quick touch with my Steelers that are going for
Hey, they're
10
my
and 6
Steelers, too.
and to be in the mix.
They're my Steelers, too.
Well, I mean, you like the Pirates, so you
I'm
can't.
a
If you
Steeler
like the
fan.
Pirates, you can't like the Steelers any more than me because you like the Pirates.
I got to pull
That's
out the
that
card.
gives you a
This
black
is
eye.
my show.
That gives you a black eye.
This is my show. You got a black guy on your show. On the sandbox. You got a black guy. You got a black guy on your sandbox. Black guy. Okay? That's enough of that. I'm a Steeler fan since 1969. I told you guys on
I'm
the
a
air
Steeler
I
fan
wasn't
since
until then.
1984.
I got you beat. And what's your
man.
point on there? Go Steelers. I predicted a win in Cincinnati.
It looked
I
like
got to
Mike
keep
Tomlin-
promoting
It
myself.
looked like Mike Tomlin was talking to a couple people
No,
on
here
Sunday.
it was. Here's what it was when they were playing. Mike is up. When the play was over, hey, great job. Talking to whoever he is. His wife was on there, I heard rumors. So Kia was there with them. But it's odd to see that Mike. I know he's going to have to change it because we got a few games left, but we'll see. Can we beat a team that has a sub 500 record? That is the question.
Not Atlanta.
Well, you know why I think we have a lot of promise playing Atlanta? Because Julio
Why?
Jones sustained a late injury in the game against the Packers at Green Bay.
I
So
called
if there's no
down there,
Julio
he's back.
Jones, if there's no,
I called the Atlanta Falcons the day he's back.
Heavy
He's
money.
ready.
of course,
He's ready. Because I
He's
got money
a
on
known
it.
gambler, and he's proud of it. So we don't condone that. It's a family show here, so I'm against it.
Julio said, put me down for 200 yards.
hey, and West Virginia is in the Big 12 too. So I don't want to hear no more about the Big 12. Man.
How do we get
they
to
got
West
the
Virginia? We're
Mountaineers.
Steelers. Jesse, do you have anything for about 30 seconds to bring up on the Steelers you like or don't like or what you feel?
Well, to be honest, I was a huge Steeler fan, and I kind of fell out of it a little bit when the NFL kind of made it a not as aggressive sport. I mean, obviously with my combat sport background, but I did grow up in Southwestern PA. I did play high school sports. My cousin is a scout for the Washington Redskins. I'm a football family. I'm the black sheep of the
I
family.
was trying to bring it out.
But yeah, whenever the final straw that broke the camel's back, me being the camel, was only 5 guys per side on an onside kick, and then that's when I said, that's it, I'm done with the NFL. But I'm still a passing fan because I still live in Southwestern PA. To me, I'll always be a Steeler fan. I just hate that the 3-4 defense is too aggressive to work. And
Well, you're bringing up some points we'd like to talk, but we're under a minute
Yeah.
now.
Can I get 10 seconds,
You
boss?
got 10 seconds.
I just want to give a shout out to the lovely Danielle Ohm for coming out last night and supporting me.
Does she have
and
nice
the Pittsburgh
eyebrows?
Bullets. Marcus Robinson.
That's it. Your time's up. That was 12 seconds. Smoking Jim, you got an event.
Well, but I'm not going to say the event, but I know your cousin's probably mad because the Rams came out with all the people that they drafted because of the RG3 trade and made him captain.
Yeah.
I know he's pissed.
You got Smoking Jim. I appreciate you got the biggest event ever in the city, and you're not even mentioning
December
about it. So
13th.
I'm not mentioning it. I'm not even mentioning we're filming it because nobody knows about
the
it
name?
here. Al Levine, the talking machine. I got Jesse Saxon here. Smoking Jim Frazier, Little Z promoting everything in the world, including his girlfriend. Have a nice night. Be safe out there. See ya.